What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, it seems that Sony sent out a patch, an update to some of their games, I guess. And this is from Tom's Hardware. And they're pretty reliable. That's Sony being mad at me for saying the news. Yeah, it seems like, I mean, this is the scuttlebutt. This is the alleged part of it. That, or I guess there's proof. Anyway, the update makes the games like the crash or they're worse or something. And I'm like, huh? What's going on? And now people are speculating, jumping to conclusions, if you will, that they sent out an update. I forgot who it was, but it was like, did PlayStation send out an update to for the old, the PS5 base amateur and certain games to make the PS5 Pro seem worth the price? That's what somebody said on Twitter. And I looked at the Tom's Hardware and I scanned through it and I'm like, huh? How are you? Okay, it was probably an error, but once again, negative news. It's not positive news, even though it may be just a mistake or whatever on Sony's part. Update is messed up. It messed up some games. Oops, we'll fix it. Don't worry. That's not how it was taken. That's not how it was perceived. The narrative is that they're putting out broken patches to make the PlayStation 5 Pro look better, Protato look better. Now we see what's going on. Now we see the problem. And like I said before, the problem is the public perception. And now the public perception is Sony's a evil, conniving company that just wants money, blah, 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 right? It's happening in real life in front of our faces. There's no media like, oh, don't worry. No, they've given up. They're like, look, we can't win this because public perception is that Sony is this and that and the third. And that's why these negative articles, these negative posts are coming out, because there's negative sentiment towards PlayStation right now. And they can't do anything about it. What can you do? You just got to ride it out like they've been riding out this whole generation. But besides that, which, I would assume that it's not true, but the fact that it's being taken as a negative and that like Sony's trying to get over or whatever, do something, that's the news about it. Not the fact that they messed up or whatever, but the news about it is that it's being perceived negatively on Sony. And so anything that they do slightly wrong is going to be amplified and megafied and all that stuff. Also, they're saying they're putting out on November 21st, they're putting out the 30th anniversary edition of the PlayStation 5. I saw it. It's gray. It's like every other anniversary edition they put out. The regular version might sell. The Pro, I don't know if the Pro is going to sell. Actually, that Pro might sell because they're only producing 12,300 of those. I would assume that might be combined. I don't actually know. Or was it a Pro version? I'm trying to. I think I did see the Pro version in the picture. Yeah, I think I saw the Slim and the Pro next to each other, and they had the Portal. I guess people probably buy the Portal and the controller. They had a controller too. They probably buy a controller, but system, Besides, can't you just buy the plates for it and just? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But this is, it's not the beginning, but it is the acceleration of the downfall of PlayStation. The brand that everyone, they're the best in the world. They dominate. They make the best games. That used to be true at one point because they had no competition to show the public. They had a choice. Like, oh, wow, these guys make good games too. Y'all are messing up. I'm going to go over here to the good games. And that's what happens when you actually have competition. Because Sony's been playing this game as recently where they're money hatting. They're money hatting and they're stifling competition. When you money hat and you say, yeah, you can't put that on our competitor's platform, that's not competition. That's fixing the game so that you can win. You know, that's what Nintendo did. I said this way. Nintendo did the same thing during the NES. That's why Sega Master System didn't do nothing. They didn't have any games. They had a lot of games for the fact that they were the only ones putting their own games on there. And they had, I think, Compile put one game out. And Activision eventually put some games out on Sega Master System. But besides barely a handful of third-party games on Activision, Parker Brothers too, on Sega Master System, no, it's all Sega. You know, Nintendo dominated because they had all the third parties locked down contractually, saying, yo, you put it on the NES, you can't put it on Sega Master System, period. I don't know if they probably said competitors, platform, or whatever, but Sega Master System was the only competitor at that time. And so Sony's trying to do the same thing, or they have been doing the same thing, actually. But the problem is that Microsoft is a beast. And Sony really did try. They money had it, Ghostwire Tokyo. They money had it, the other game, Deathloop. And they tried the money hat Starfield. And then Microsoft said, oh hell to the nah. Let's open up the bank account. Boom, boom. We got to stop this foolishness. And they stopped it. You know, they said, all right, this is how you money hat. You buy the bank. You buy the company. You buy it all. And they said, we'll honor your rinky-dink contracts, but, you know, past that, kick rocks. And then they said, well, that worked out pretty good when we did that with Bethesda. Satya's like, yes, that worked out pretty good. I don't know what accent that was. It feels like, yes. So I was over at the Activision studios, and you know, I'm a coder. I used to code. I'm a gamer. I like to play games. And Activision makes a lot of. Satya's like, listen, talk less. Just go buy it. Here's the check. Go get it. And feels like, are you sure? Satya, boss man, Satya, are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Go get it now. Even Satya knew Activision Blizzard King was like, oh yeah, I play Candy Crush every night on the toilet. So go get it so I can have Candy Crush bank account money. Feels like, you got it, boss. Pew! And he went over and said, pew, 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 pew. And it happened. Of course, Sony tried to throw a couple of cones and obstacles and turtle shells and speed bumps in the way, you know, by, you know, crying Jim Ryan. His last hurrah was to fly around the world, cry to everybody, talking about, they're gonna kill PlayStation. He wasn't wrong. It's just like happening in slow motion in front of our eyes right now. But see, here's the thing about that, right? Yes, PlayStation is dying. It's not because Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard King. It's because PlayStation did not adapt to the changing environment. They didn't make no games, the service games that were actually good. They tried, but they canceled half of them. They haven't made any of their other games. What they should have done. I know this is a hard ass. This is a big ass, but they should have been making both. Now, I think Hiroki Totoki or somebody, I think it was Jim Ryan, who said, we're going to make both, we're just going to increase, I was like, that's a good idea. It's not enough because they, you know, all these studios that were making Last of Us and all stuff, they were making the multiplayer, and then they wasted 3 years or whatever on that and hundreds of millions of dollars, and they canceled the game. That's why I said last video, Bungie cost Sony more money than just $3.6 billion. You know, the potential money the money they lost trying to make, you know, doing factions and the Spider-Man. That money, let's just call it an even $500 million. Probably not that much, but like $400 million, let's say they lost on those two projects. And the potential profit or money they would have gained back, even though they spent that much money putting it out, how much would the servers cost to maintain? You know, I think that was the main thing. It's like, look, we're going to put this game out, and, you know, we're not going to update it really. It's just, you know, like I said last video, you know, throw some modders on it, let's go. But, you know, that's not Sony's way, so, you know, they have not been doing what they needed to do this generation. They have made their own bed, PlayStation, Sony. And I'm looking at them. I'm watching this company fall apart, and I'm like, how can you sit there? You see Call of Duty, what it's doing, right? You see Apex Legends, you see Fortnite, you see Minecraft, you see all these games. Even the game like what was that game that they had? They didn't money had it, but they did exclusivity for like a year or two. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I mean, Rocket League is a good example. They had that exclusive for a year or whatever it was, right? And that's a huge hit. People are still playing that game, right? It's like you see what's popular, right? And they're the masters of following trends. They bite off of everybody in order to make a quick buck or to be successful at all. But it seems like they don't know what they're doing, because they tried with Concord, right? They tried to say, oh, let's take a little piece of this, a little piece of that, and our Guardians of the Galaxy. They took the wrong things from everything. Okay, not so much, but they took a couple of wrong things for things like, okay, Guardians was cool when it was in the zeitgeist, but it fell out of favor. It fell off after the third movie, and then years after the third movie, you expect people to be like, oh yeah, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy, I love it. It's like, nah, it was cool at the time, but now we past that. We so far past that. We're like, I mean, Venom. Like, is Venom better? You know, and I thought, aren't they supposed to be making a Venom game? Oh man, they're so behind, and that's partially it's their fault for being so slow at making games. Sorry, that's a joke. It takes a while to make games, but partially it is their fault 100% because they realize it is that long to take games. You can't be like, oh snap, a Venom movie came out, let's start making a game now. No, because by the time your game comes out, ain't nobody gonna care. And they'll be like, why is this Venom game coming? Is there something happening is there a movie coming? No? Okay. It's like Wolverine. You know what would have been perfect? If Wolverine came out when Deadpool and Wolverine came out. If that movie came out exactly when if that game came out when that movie was out, it would have been all good, because the zeitgeist surrounding that movie and surrounding Wolverine would have been super dope fly. You know, there is synergy when it comes to those things. And they realized that with like The Last of Us, they got a little bump in people playing the game. That's why Factions should have came out. But they listened to Bungie. And the people at Firewalk, they were ex-Bungie devs. And I think there were other people too, but ex-Bungie devs. I'm like, anyway, I'm not going down the everything Bungie turns to concrete or whatever, Medusa or something. No, I'm not doing that. But I said concrete. She turned people to stone, son. What kind of stone did she turn them? Or was it like Quickcrete or something? Anyway, everything that has happened to Sony this generation is their own doing. They can't blame anyone else but themselves. And I hate seeing these donkey unicorns and these ponies talking about, oh my gosh, it's Microsoft because it's Xbox's fault for not having competition. That's why Sony's acting this way. That's why it's $700 for I'm like, y'all are stupid. I say it. I smack it through the internet. You're stupid, and you know what you're talking about, because this is Sony. This is the Sony that we saw in 2006 talking about $5.99, go get a second job, giant enemy crabs. This is the same Sony. They're still there. I think some of the execs from back then are still over in Japan. And you see what happened, right? They fired Jim Ryan because, I mean, they thought Jim Ryan was the savior because he was making so much money for the Europe office, right? I guess. That's why they put him in the position. Meanwhile, the dude who was in the position that Jim Ryan replaced, he said all the things that are coming true. He said we can't afford these big giant games. The landscape has changed. Even though he's still a pony or whatever, Sean Layden, and he had a weird body shape. That's fine. I mean, the reason why I say that is because he was wearing t-shirts with like long. I was like, come on, son, you gotta wear clothes that accommodate and accentuate what you got. You don't wear tight ass. Anyway, but he was right. as much as he's a fanboy and a pony and a doo-doo face, and I think he works for Tencent now or whatever, he was right. Jim Ryan was wrong in what he did, but he was right in what he was right in his sentiment, meaning, yeah, we got to do games of service and all this. I'm like, when you first got in, right, I don't know how long it takes to make a games of service game, but they should have put that on the Runaway Train Expressway. Let's go. Because they're sitting there making remakes and remasters and remakes and remakes, and it's still happening now. And they should, like I said, I'll go back. They should have never canceled those games. Even if they were going to be a failure, even if they should have whipped up some support studios and say, look, try to make this game work. The update cadence isn't going to be like Fortnite. It's impossible to do that unless you got like 2,000-3,000 people working on that game all the time, full time. You can't do it on a couple hundred people. It's just not going to work. And so they should, well, their first mistake is, I think a lot of studios' mistake is looking at Fortnite as the model, because that's the exception. I don't know of any other studio that is that large or like supporting a game. So you have to reevaluate, you have to readjust and say, okay, look, we're not going to have that many people on a game. Let's do 100 people. I mean, that's big for support. It's not big, but it's like realistically. You say, all right, every 3 months, I think Fortnite gets updated. But what can you do in 3 months with a staff of 100 people? You know, how long does it take to kind of go through it and QA it and all that stuff? And so, you know, those are the things that I don't know. So I can't really do calculus on it. But just make it smaller. Make your updates smaller, make your team smaller, and make it manageable. That's it. You know, you don't go in Ubisoft stuff and have 10,000 people working on a game, even though those games are huge and massive, but it's really overkill. And when you have smaller teams, you tend to be more agile and you tend to be more creative in solving problems and bringing in new gameplay mechanics too. So, yeah, man. And Sony's been playing it safe for a long time. That's why they're doing all these remasters and remakes, because they know, oh, that's a good game. It's a popular game. Let's give it to them again. I'm like, and you see the backlash, right? People are like, why? We don't want, who asked for this? Remember Porter Rock? Porter Rock said, who asked for Concord? We don't want this. Who asked for this? You're getting Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. Who asked for this? That's your game. That's your game. Concord, that's your game. Colin Moriarty, that's your game. Man, oh man. Man, oh man. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, if anybody out there, usually Donkey Unicorns and Ponies, if they're blaming anyone but PlayStation and Sony for the position they're in right now, they're idiots. Or they're delusional, or they're both. You know, it can be a delusional idiot. Or they're just, you know, a drifter. They're a grifter. They're David Banner. David Banner? Bruce Banner. Wow. Wait, on the TV show, was he David Banner? It was, right? Don't Make Me Angry? I don't remember anymore. Doesn't matter. I haven't seen that show in like 1,000 million years. Lou Ferrigno, like, rah. Anyway. Yeah, it's Sony's fault. It's PlayStation's fault. Jim Ryan, mainly. We're still feeling the aftermath of the Ryan era. But, you know, I said before, it's going to take them a long time to get out of this because it takes so long to make games. So I said 10 years because it took about 10 years for Xbox to get out of for where they are. Although, it might take Sony a little bit less time because Phil had to, over at Xbox, Phil had to like literally reset that company. He had to change the culture. He had to buy all these things. He had to do a lot. So I don't think people are giving, he's probably one of the best CEOs that were in gaming, is in gaming, as far as like what he started off with and what he's ending up with, like at the end of his tenure, whenever that may be. You know, I hope he's there for another 10 years or so, because, you know, I just don't hope. I mean, he's a gamer, so I think like his drive is more about not being like businessman, let's make money for the company. That's what Jim Ryan's problem was, and that's what happened. That's what's happening with PlayStation right now. Hiroki Totoki's like, yo, I'm the numbers guy. These numbers ain't numbering. $700. So that's what's happening at PlayStation. But Phil, he's like, look, I am running a business. Also, I want games. I want my games. I want them to be available for people. I want them to be affordable. Blah, 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 blah. You know, and at a certain point, you're like, well, look, we have affordable options for our gamers. You don't have to buy the newest and the greatest. You could buy this. As long as they give us that spectrum of devices where I can say, look, I'm going to go PC and I'll just buy it on PC, or I'm going to go with the cheapest. I'll go with the handheld, which would be cheaper than the big boy console, I would assume. I mean, I got disposable income, so I'm going to probably buy both. But, you know, and if it's $700, I'm like, damn, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to buy it right now. I'm like, $700, I'm good. I'm going to chill for a minute, you know what I'm saying? But the handheld, I'm going to say the handheld's probably going to be like $499. Be realistic, right? I'm hoping it's $499. If it's $599, I'm like, damn. And I will probably begrudgingly buy it, but I don't want it to be that expensive. But anyway, we'll see what the Switch 2 is going to be. Anyway, there was news about the Switch 2. I don't know. I didn't want to really talk about it because it was like leak footage, leak images, and they were showing all kinds of. I want more of an actual official thing. I mean, I usually don't talk about the Switch, Nintendo stuff, but I was thinking about it. Like I was at the store. I was walking through the video game stuff, and I was like, oh, da da da. I looked down, there's a bunch of Switch lights. And I'm like, it's only $199. That's super cheap. I could just buy it and just to have it, you know. And the main reason I would buy a Switch is it's like not for Zelda or anything. I mean, I might buy that too. But it's because they tend to have a lot of like older arcade games and collections that I like. I don't know about as far as emulation goes. I don't think you can do too much on the Switch yet. I think they did actually do a R4. But anyway. That's why I bought a 3DS, because they had the Sega collection, classic collection, and it was in 3D. I was like, let's go. So I don't know. I gotta look into the Switch library if there's some games that I want as far as that are like arcade classics, like they did the Sega arcade classics. If that's like on the Switch too, and it's like 60 frames and all that stuff, I'm like, you know what? I'll go $199, slap it in the dock. And I know the Switch. You can wait. Can you? No, you can't use that one in a dock, can you? I mean, because the Joy-Cons don't come off. It's all one piece. I gotta research. And even if not, I'll get the regular Switch. I don't care. Do I want to switch? I don't think I want to switch OLED though, because I'll probably mainly be playing it on the big TV anyway. But anyway, sorry, tangent. But yeah, PlayStation. They're in trouble. It is all their fault, their own fault. And I dare anyone in the comments to counter me on that. Yeah, but listen, appreciate y'all hanging out on this man. Like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's all Sony's fault in the predicament that they're in right now? You know, Concord failing and all this. Do you? Why would you think that it's anyone else's fault? Like, is it Sega's fault? Is it Nintendo's fault? I mean, we can't leave everyone out of this conversation. We can't just say, oh, it's Xbox's fault because they're their enemy or something, their closest competition, whatever. That doesn't make sense. You got to include everyone, right? Is Activision's fault? Well, Tencent's fault? Anyway, let me know. And I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Appreciate it. And wait, I messed up the ending. This is all out of order. Okay, I did it. I took the weight.